Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
You're listening to Bloomberg Businessweek with Massar and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio.
Big headlines from today, and that is that patients taking Eli Lilly's blockbuster weight loss shot were 94% less likely to develop diabetes in a 3-year study that illuminates the long-term health benefits of treating obesity. It's the longest continuous study of Zepbound, of course, Eli Lilly's weight loss shot. This is according to a company statement Tuesday. More than 1,000 patients with obesity and prediabetes were randomized to receive Lilly's medicine or a placebo and followed for just over 3 years. And here with more, I'm thrilled to say we have Bloomberg News health reporter Madison Muller joining us in studio. And I want to start there with the fact that, again, this is a 3-year-long study. You think about how long we've been talking about GLP-1s. It has not been 3 years. For me. It's been like
18 months.
18 months if you're being generous.
That's a good point. I mean, that is one of the things that constantly comes up too. When people talk about these drugs, they say, oh, we don't have long-term data, which is not necessarily true. I mean, this study just came out, 3-year-long study, but we have to remember that GLP-1 drugs in some form have been around for like 2 decades. So we do have longer-term studies. We are finally getting some longer-term data on the actual weight loss drugs, and especially these newer, more effective weight loss drugs. And what we're seeing is that, one, patients are able to continue losing weight over this 3-year period. I mean, 23% weight loss in 3 years is pretty good. It's difficult to keep weight off, as we know, long term. And 2, we're seeing these other health benefits that are illuminated, like prevention of type 2 diabetes in this case, and more in other studies to come.
I go back to the question that we always ask, Madison, whenever we see news like this, which is, does this all fundamentally stem from the fact that people who are not overweight have better health outcomes than those who are? So the losing weight is the primary, but the secondary is the benefits to heart, to diabetes and such.
I mean, with this study, it's a little bit different, right? I mean, these drugs are approved to treat type 2 diabetes. We know that they have an effect on blood sugar, and we know that losing weight and keeping weight off, being at a healthy weight, is good for blood sugar. It helps with, prevention of type 2 diabetes. So this study, I would say, is not quite as surprising as some of the other studies when we look at sleep apnea or heart disease or Alzheimer's, which we haven't gotten the results of that Alzheimer's study yet. But those are things that are related to obesity, and I think are maybe more surprising when we see them.
Alzheimer's is related to obesity.
Well, it's kind of unclear exactly how, and that's one of the things that these drugs are testing. I think part of it is also the anti-inflammatory effects of these drugs, which we also had news today that Lilly is going to be testing Zepbound in combination with its psoriasis drug Taltz because of these anti-inflammatory effects. So I think that this study today, I mean, the reaction to it was very positive, but it to me is less surprising, I think, than some of the other studies.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing, and there's still so much we don't know about Alzheimer's, but also these drugs and how they work. I mean, it's just been so fascinating seeing all the different potential applications here. And I'm wondering, though, I mean, some of the questions that swirl around GLP-1s are these lifetime drugs? Are we going to be, if you start taking these drugs, you lose the weight, do you have to be on them for the rest of your life? And even though we have this study, which is 3 years, the longest yet, I feel like we just don't know the answer to that. They just haven't been around long enough.
Yeah, exactly. And there was an 17-week off-ramp period in this study, and in that 17-week period, people started gaining back the weight. So they saw that pretty immediately, and that's one of the things we know with this current generation of drugs. The recommendation is that people have to take them for the rest of their lives, but companies are trying to develop drugs that are maybe taken less frequently, like once a month. Amgen has a drug that's taken once a month or might be taken even less frequently than that. That's still in studies, but I think the hope is to get to a point where we have drugs that either don't need to be taken for the rest of someone's life or can be taken less frequently, and it's just a little bit easier and hopefully more cost effective.
You were about to ask a question, and I told you that I'm going to ask a question. And I mean, if you just approach this from sort of the cold starting point of capitalism. Wouldn't it be good for Lilly, good for Novo if these were lifetime drugs?
I mean, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, the pharmaceutical industry in general, is they're making money off of sickness. So
Tim, you can
treating
ask
sickness.
That was my question.
Really?
Yeah, because Madison said that. She said a pill that you don't have to take for the rest of your life. And I was like, don't you, if you're a drug company, don't you want the person to take it for the rest of their life?
It makes a lot of sense.
It does. Is there actually motivation to develop something that's as innovative as, not a pill as a service?
Yeah, I mean, because that's what people will want at the end of the day. So I think it comes back to demand, maybe, is that these companies are now sort of like trying to out innovate each other. And if there's a company coming behind Lilly that has a drug that's taken less frequently, then people are ideally going to want that drug more. So then Lilly has to out innovate them again and create a product that people will want more, that's more effective, that's taken less frequently, sort of a pill form, things like that.
Well, let's talk about potential pill forms. I don't know if you guys know this, but I anchor Open Interest on Bloomberg Television from 9 to 11 every single morning.
The show about options, Open Interest.
No, but we do talk about options sometimes. Matt Muller is obsessed with GLP-1s, and his question is always when do I not have to inject myself? When can I just take this in pill form? And I have to imagine a lot of Americans have that question as well. So where are we on that?
Yeah, that is the next big thing I think that's coming with these weight loss drugs, not only in the U.S., but there are also markets outside of the U.S. that research shows really prefer pills over shots. Japan is one of them. So it's like a potential way also to continue winning over markets ex-U.S., but both Novo and Lilly have been studying pill forms of their drugs. Lilly has a drug called orforglipron. It's kind of a mouthful. It's in late stage studies, and so we'll hopefully get some more data on that soon. Novo actually is further along. They sell a pill for diabetes currently that's called Rybelsus. It's not very good for weight loss, but they have been studying higher doses that would ideally be for weight loss. The problem is that the active ingredient to make those pills, the pills require much more than the shots do. And as we know, Novo's already struggling with supply shortages. They can't make enough. So they actually can't really make a pill yet because they can't make enough of the drug.
So Madison, I'm thinking about this. We have the weight loss drugs, could work well in diabetes, could work for Alzheimer's, could work for psoriasis. What else is on the list?
Knee osteoarthritis, which makes sense. You think about someone losing weight, being lighter, their joints maybe having less inflammation. Inflammation, like we discussed earlier, Lilly is looking to do combination studies with Taltz for psoriasis and also for inflammatory bowel disease, potentially other immunological diseases in the future. Outside scientists are studying alcoholism, nicotine addiction, PCOS, fertility. Like there are a lot of studies that the companies themselves are doing, and then outside scientists are doing a whole other slew of studies.
Bloomberg News health reporter Madison Muller with the latest when it comes to all things GLP-1s.